Hey, this is Gavin with Hero Looking for Group. Just checking in. Um, I've been writing. I write for my blog, and then I use this software called Hugo and GitHub for version control. Hugo takes the Markdown I write. Markdown is a format for text that's used on Wikipedia, for example. But I write with Markdown format. I've been specifying my writings as draft so they don't show up on the live website. And I've been writing about government, truth, and then I just started a notes, so 3 different posts. And in my notes today, I keep being drawn toward writing because the leadership in our world, and you could, for some reason I'm thinking about the governor of Alabama, but even, the president, even, the United Nations, even the mainstream media and the institutions for science and education, institutions like the WHO, the CDC, I think they are, every organization is making mistakes, and so they can't be trusted, but everybody seems to trust them. Well, yeah, so the leaders are incompetent. It makes me think I could be incompetent. Or, yeah, well, obviously I can be incompetent too, but I know that when I cooperate with other people, the work that gets done is better than the work that is done if I do not cooperate. And so I want to help, but there's not a lot of opportunity for me to help. Like, all these people are making mistakes. And if there was an opportunity for me to help, the system would be better. And I would say this is true for a lot of people, not just me, and it's true for every organization. This is the human resource problem, the problem of connecting people who have talent and skills and a will to help with organizations and other people who are trying to solve problems, and there would be a good match. So this is like a general problem, and that's my calling. And then specifically, the specific issues that caused me to get up and start writing is the laws against marijuana. I saw an article that Huntsville, Alabama did a drug bust, lots of pounds of marijuana, cannabis. It has THC and CBD and many other cannabinoids that can help, that can be medicine, right? They can be very helpful. But if you grow that plant in the backyard, Alabama will, they will, I think there's a mandatory minimum of like 10 years. So because they'll say it's the intent to distribute if you've got a large enough quantity. But even if it was a small amount, it's up to $5,000 for your first offense, and then the second offense I think is like a minimum of a year. And this all depends on the judges and the lawyers and how much money you have in paying the lawyers. And sometimes I've heard that the system's kind of rigged, like the judge and the lawyer know each other. They do networking, so if you help pay the bills for the lawyer and the lawyer is friends with the judge, then there can end up being these decisions that are made so that maybe you, instead of your second offense mandatory minimum, maybe that first offense gets brought down to something so that your second offense isn't really a second offense, but maybe is a first offense. And if you have enough money, maybe you never get that first offense. So, if you're poor, you might not, or if you have bad networking skills or social skills, then you can't play the game and you get in trouble. These laws are terrible. And in my notes, it's like, I think responsible people should be able to use mind-altering substances in responsible ways. I'm a parent. I don't want my children using these substances because I've got a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. They are children. And I do realize that there are 40 and 50-year-old children, right? So if you get drunk and drive a car and wreck it, then it should be illegal for you to consume alcohol, right? But there are people who don't do that with alcohol, and it should be legal for them to consume alcohol in a responsible way. But we have laws on the books which are bad concerning alcohol. We should be more strict with people who behave like children and less strict with people who behave like mature, responsible adults. And this is the way we should treat every mind-altering substance. And I'm not just talking about alcohol and marijuana, I'm also talking about the news. So I just get the feeling that like Alabama would be willing to support someone like me. Lots of conservatives would support me, and then a lot of Democrats would support me on this issue. This is one of those issues that conservatives and liberals would agree with me on, in large part. Obviously, there's people who have extreme views in either direction. Extreme, like everyone should be able to do the drug, including 5-year-olds. And there's extreme views like no one should be able to do the drug, right? Alcohol should be illegal for everybody. No sex before marriage. There's all kinds of extreme views. The other issue is coronavirus or COVID and masks and vaccines. And from what I've heard, the Governor Kay Ivey essentially seems like she patronizes and looks down on people who don't wear masks and don't get vaccines. And I know there are people like this. They look down on, they judge others. They think of themselves as superior because they are listening to scientists and the CDC and the WHO, and they believe that these institutions are competent and they aren't making mistakes. And and then once you have that superiority mindset, you may begin to treat people who see the world in a different way as if they're inferior people, and you may even like force yourself on them. Like what happens if so as a governor, you can create a mask mandate. Well, it doesn't seem righteous. It doesn't seem right. So the governor of Alabama, I believe she should be able to create rules for state-owned property and state workers. If the tax dollars are being used to pay for the property and pay these workers, she can create rules. She can help create rules. Ideally, she shouldn't be like the person. It should be like a group effort. A good leader will work with everyone, or at least will try to, and they have different competence based on how well they know to use technology. I don't think this lady knows how to use technology as well as I can. I'm a software engineer. It's one of the reasons I think I would be a good leader is because I know how to use communication software and communication or information technology. I know a lot about information technology. And so that would just allow me to connect with more people and to be a better representative. Related to, let's continue this thought. Private property owners, they should be able to make up their own rules. So they could actually say, you need to be vaccinated, you need to show me that you've been vaccinated, and you need to wear a mask, and it has to be medical grade. You could be extreme as you want if it's your property. And this is where people who have compromised immune systems could go. This is where people who have compromised immune systems could send their help. If they need to stay in a protected environment, they may pay people to go to the places that have the most extreme rules, right? And it's your freedom to choose which property to use. I was talking to a coworker about, hopefully that's not a spider. I'm sitting in a chair with a spider. All spiders can bite. Only a few of them can really hurt you. At least that's what that's the basics of what I've heard. Anyways, driving your car. If you're driving a car on a road owned by the state, by the government, by tax dollars, then there are rules. But if you go to a racetrack, the rules could be different. And it's the same thing for coronavirus, and the same thing for mind-altering substances. It's just a general rule. How fast should you drive? Well, it's complicated when it's public property. It's less complicated when it's private property. So that's my general position on these issues, and I think I would be a better leader. maybe not now, but I hope that I can become a person who would be a better leader than a lot of other people. So I might be able to be a good leader in 2040, you know, whatever, in whatever means and for whatever size area. I mean, I'm speaking to people in 2040 right now. Like, I have children. I want to be with my wife and children primarily right now. I would only become a leader if people noticed me and were willing to do a lot of the work to help me become to win an election, because I've looked into it. It's a rigged game. It requires a lot of people and or money, and that equates to time and energy. And if you try to do that all by yourself, it basically won't happen. So I ended up updated my government post. My government post is a work in progress, and I started talking about patronizing and condescending people. So the sections of my post have something to do with government, and within that it talks about goals, it asks a few questions, and it talks about people related to that post, like people and government. And the first section under people and government, oh yeah, and there's another section related to biblical patterns and strategies. The creator and the timing is getting a little noisy. So yeah, it's a work in progress. That's why I say I'm running in 2040. It's all a work in progress. I'm willing to change my mind. One of my goals is to learn, to receive feedback. I really enjoy that sound, by the way. It's a metal roof with rain hitting the metal roof. I'm used to it. This is what I grew up with. And our view, maybe I need to hold this microphone. It's right here. It's about to get loud. Our views are shaped by our experience. And people who are strange, who do things in ways that we're not familiar with, that our family did not teach us, we may look down on them, and that's not good. So remember that. I'll just be quiet now. I built this deck. Pretty good deck.